The lead soloists, Irene Waugh and Geoffrey Black, spent today rehearsing their roles of Mary and Joseph. Conductor Ulrich Burstein describes Saturday's performance as a musical dramatisation of the early life of Christ. He promises a powerful oratorio with one of the country's most talented singers in the role of Joseph.
Geoffrey Black, who's the youngest of the four soloists, is just 21 and is said by very many people already to be the most promising young singer in Australia today. He's already won competitions, a very important competition in Sydney in July, I think it was, and he then went to London where he entered an international song competition and got in the 6 finalists out of hundreds of contestants.
The Childhood of Christ features 4 soloists. They will be supported by a 41-piece orchestra and the 70-member Newcastle City Choir.
It's something I wish my wife and kids had been able to see. It gave me a great thrill, something I'll always remember.
So how does the Veterans standard, say, compare to the state standard that you played some years ago?
Well, it is lower for sure because of the pace of the game. We haven't got their legs, and that's the ultimate thing. You've got to have legs to play hockey. But in Veterans, it is a very high standard.
Now, this is your second year with the Australian Veterans team. Will you be backing up again?
I'm not too sure. Money's a big problem at the moment. We have to pay most of our expenses. Next year it's in Hong Kong, and there'll be a lot more teams here. I believe about 12 teams. So it's something that's growing, veterans hockey.
Businesses in Newcastle may not welcome the buskers, but in Maitland, their efforts are certainly appreciated. In High Street today, over the roar of the traffic, a variety of musical styles could be heard. The reason for all the enthusiastic performances is perhaps the $200 prize money being offered by the High Street Promotions Group to Maitland's best busker. The group organised the competition in an effort to create a pleasant atmosphere in the street and to attract customers. Winners will be announced tomorrow.
The trees, the natural environment. Like it, or do you find it awful? Amongst the campuses of Australia, the trees, the natural environment. I think if you could put your finger on one thing, I think the university is now a much more open community. The university council meetings take place in the presence of all members of the university. We also have access to university files by members of the university. And we now have anti-discrimination procedures in the university to prevent discrimination against people on the grounds of sex and so on, so that it is a university which has moved with the times, and I think that's a wonderful thing, and in many ways it leads Australia in those respects.
Do you see that it has any weaknesses?
Well, of course, every institution has weaknesses, and I think the amalgamation debate, which we went through in the last couple of years, revealed the need for improvements in the relationship between institutions of higher learning in the Hunter Valley and region. The association between the university and the College of Advanced Education can doubtless be improved. and perhaps that will be some good that will come out of the amalgamation debate. It was, of course, a very painful issue for the whole region and for everybody associated with education in the region and for the university, very distracting debate. But we put all that behind us now. This is a fine university on a beautiful campus with wonderful scholars of world class, and I will be very sad to sever my association with the university.
The four options for a better sewage treatment system for Newcastle were displayed in the Merryweather Surf Clubhouse over the weekend. One option was chosen through public input. At the unveiling on Friday, there were very few people. And over the weekend, only a small crowd viewed the exhibition. Vice President of the Clean Oceans for Newcastle Group, Mrs. Joy Parker, was disappointed with the response.
It's disappointing because we want the people of Newcastle to have a look at it. If they don't have a look, they're not going to form opinions. And I'd like to see the people now come forward and send their opinions in so that we can have an option settled.
Mrs. Parker is also concerned about the cost to ratepayers. She asks why Newcastle should have to pay extra.
I feel that a lot of people won't want to pay any extra rates because, let's face it, we're paying enough now. We feel that it should be up to the government to pay for it. It's not our fault that this has got to be done.
The weekend display at Merryweather has now moved to the offices of the Hunter District Water Board, where the public can view it for the next 3 months.
CES has moved to the corner of King and Derby Streets from old and very cramped premises it has occupied in Pacific Street since 1946. The job centre began operations today and was immediately busy because of several jobs on offer from the Urban Transit Authority. The renovated Martin Delaunay building has several advantages as a CES office, not the least of which is space. That has allowed a job vacancy computer system to be installed. The centre is closer to the Department of Social Security offices in Hunter Street, an important consideration for those short on money for bus fare. Most importantly, the staff say the appealing atmosphere will encourage people to seek information and advice.
Toys and food that had been collected were stored in this Salvation Army building and were due to be divvied up amongst the St Vincent de Paul, the Smith family and the Salvation Army tomorrow. But when Captain Lawrence opened the storeroom this morning, he was shocked to find that thieves had been busy overnight.
These boxes here were piled up to here, and that was all sort of tin food and sweets and cakes and goodies sort of thing. Yeah. And over here, these were all boxes of toys up here. Those haven't been touched along the back there, but we had boxes of toys along here, and they were mainly the good quality toys, you know, stuffed animals and things like this. They've left a few, mainly the second-hand things.
Appeal organiser Ron Hamilton says that many who could least afford it had given to the appeal.
Last week.
Yes, we had many gifts from you might say, the widow's mite, the pensioners who put away little bits, and they don't want to be acknowledged in the paper. We normally do acknowledge, but they don't want to be acknowledged. They're completely anonymous. These are the people I feel sad about.
While a robbery like this will undoubtedly shock everybody, it's worth remembering that the thieves must know that out there in the community there are people prepared to buy things like this at a cheap price. No questions asked. That's not much consolation to the children that'll miss out on a gift this Christmas.
certificates were handed over by the New South Wales Director of Apprentices, Mr Phil Darby, during the short ceremony held at the State dockyard. 23-year-old Wally Starr of Muswellbrook graduated as a carpenter. 26-year-old Tony DeCoco of Edgeworth is also a carpenter, specialising in civil engineering construction. Both men are employed by Roberts Construction at the Bayswater Power Station. The Hunter Valley Training Company was set up in June 1981, at a time when there was a shortage of tradesmen. That shortage now no longer exists, but according to its chairman, the training company is still very necessary.
We have our apprentices now at 58 different locations, 58 different employers throughout New South Wales. This makes it easier for an employer who says, I don't know whether I can guarantee a young person 4 years employment, but under our scheme, an employer can take an apprentice for 1 month, 1 week, 1 year. And then we take the apprentices back and relocate them when we find an employer has finished with the use of that apprentice.
Do you think such a company is really necessary in the current economic climate?
I think it's absolutely vital, because with the downturn in the economy that we've had, and happily it's lifting up now, but over the past 12 months, I don't believe the 200 apprentices that we have employed would in fact have been given employment anywhere else.
This caravan, at present located in Toronto, is the Charlestown Baptist Church's way of bringing welfare to the people. After establishing a community assistance centre in Charlestown, it was realised that many really in need of aid simply didn't have the means of travelling even between suburbs. Now, staffed by a qualified welfare officer, the mobile centre will move through those areas where the numbers of unemployed and disadvantaged are high. Already in Toronto, it's been found by offering financial counselling, advice on what aid is available, and practical help with cash and food, the centre's been able to help many.
Because of the isolation and the high amount of unemployed people in the area, it's very difficult to get to other welfare services. The information we've found out, there's very few areas down here where people can come, get food assistance. There are a lot of problems with financial counselling, and we're doing a lot of debt negotiation with people who are overcommitted.
Do people just not realise what services are available?
Well, I think that because there's nothing ever been here, that they just haven't come to the realisation that the services are available.
This is one of the options Mr Paciullo was looking at. The roundabout is proposed for the southern end of the business district at Swansea. A spokesman from the DMR, Mr Bruce Loader, says the cost of the roundabout will be absorbed in the $8 million bridge planned to carry southbound traffic over Swansea Channel. Another proposal was the eastern and western bypasses for Charlestown. The Premier has okayed an environmental impact study to be done on the eastern bypass, which leaves the highway at Bennett's Green and returns near the gun club at Merriweather Heights. The member for Charlestown, Mr Richard Face, insists that a western bypass is also vital to provide a smoother thoroughfare to the industries and also to the Pacific Highway north of Newcastle until the F3 freeway is built. But will the western bypass be necessary, considering the reduction in traffic flow through the area with the introduction of the new freeway? Mr George Paciullo.
Well, the Premier has already announced that the east portion of the bypass will be included in the 5-year state program, and there is an environmental impact study to be undertaken, but hopefully we can expect in the next year or so that work may very well commence after that.
From what you've seen today, is there a need for both bypasses?
Well, I can't make that judgment yet, but there's no question about the need for the eastern bypass. As far as the western one is concerned, a traffic study will be undertaken in February when traffic settles down to normal, and from that we'll make those decisions.
The bad old days of the rescue helicopter sitting on an unequipped site at the International Sports Centre are behind the service as their new base at District Park is finally taking shape. The development of that base has been boosted significantly by the Newcastle Master Plumbers Association, who today handed over a cheque for $4,000. The helicopter director, Mr Terry Mulville, received the donation, intended for the completion of the chopper pad, from the association's president, Mr Ralph Halliday. In recent times, the plumbers have completed all the sewerage and plumbing on the site, worth about $10,000 in materials and labour. It is hoped that the helicopter base will be completely equipped by next March and that the official opening will take place at Easter.
Teams from the Central Coast, Manly, Warringah, Illawarra and Newcastle took part in the championships. In many events there was strong competition between Newcastle and Manly, including the ski relay. Both the Central Coast and Illawarra teams got off to a bad start. The relay was won by Manly, which managed to shake off Newcastle by a small margin. Manly also took out the Ironman event, with Newcastle running second. This year was the first year the championships included junior boat races won by Newcastle. According to the organiser of this year's state championships for under-18s, the event is improving the calibre of young competitors.
Well, they give the juniors a chance to get some competition under pressure without the worry of their peers from the senior ranks, and they learn a bit about what the big championships are like and the sort of things that's required of them when and if they do get selected in state teams.